2 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting with Coach Turner in his office to talk to him about the What Matters series. And first thing I noticed when I came into his office was, man, this guy is tall. I can see why he's a basketball coach. And I was like, Doug, John, are you going to come in here and help me with this? But no, we had a pretty good conversation. He's a very, very nice person to talk to, a very people person. And one of the most interesting things I found out about Coach Turner in my meeting with him was that he used to be a humanities teacher. So I asked him, how do you go from teaching humanities to being a basketball coach? And he told me it's actually not too dissimilar. Ultimately, still a teacher in the end. And I did my research, and I looked on his UCI bio and found out this is actually really true in this case. If you look in his UCI bio, you can see some comments from past employers and basketball players he used to work with, including some from the NBA. And a lot of them mention that he's a people person, a great mentor, and a great teacher. So here's a little bit of his backstory. I'm sure he'll elaborate more on this. He is a native of Roanoke, Virginia, so he's from the East Coast like me. He went to Hampton, Sydney for his undergraduate. He played for the men's basketball team there. Actually, Hampton, Sydney, I found is a all-men's college, correct? All right, I got that right. He was named a two-time All-American, the only one from his alma mater to be named so. He also participated in the school's first two NCAA tournaments. He graduated from the school in 1992, magna cum laude, with a BA in English and economics. So that explains the humanities part. But he quickly went on to, after graduating, he quickly went on to an assistant coaching career. He was an assistant coach for his alma mater, Hampton Sydney, from 1993 to 1994. He was also an assistant coach at Wake Forest, where I believe he also coached NBA players like Tim Duncan, correct? Okay. After that, in 2000 to 2004, he was at Stanford University. And then from 2004 to 2010, he was an assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. And it's a good thing he transitioned from teaching humanities to being a basketball coach, because that brings us to 2010 to now, where he is now teaching basketball. And he has been a great addition to the UCI family, having built up a great reputation for the men's basketball team, having earned several Coach of the Year awards, and we look forward to him spending the next few years with UCI. So without further ado, I welcome Coach Turner.
Thank you for the nice introduction, and thank all of you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I do understand that it's quite an honor to be invited to be here, and that feels good. I hope I'm worthy of the invitation, and I've been thinking about this opportunity a lot over the last few weeks. It feels like it's the lead up to a big game, but I can tell you this is way harder. I do enjoy the challenge, though, and I hope that I'll have a thing or two that's interesting to every one of you somehow. Forgive me while I fumble back and forth with my notes. I'm used to talking to my team, and this is clearly a real different scenario, a real different audience. But I'll tell you, when my team starts to nod their heads and they drift off a little bit, I'm not above raising my voice and using colorful language. I'll try to avoid that today, and I hope I'll be able to maintain your attention. I like my chances. I can raise my voice pretty easily. The what matters to me and why topic is a tough one in some ways, because it's real broad. And any of you, if you were presented this challenge, would think to yourselves, how am I going to fit this into a short talk? And nobody wants to hear a long talk. So you got to edit yourself pretty well. I've tried to do that. I've tried to be prepared. I'm grateful for having the chance to think about these things and try to get more comfortable with what I want to say and how I want to express it. What I'm going to try to do is mix professional and personal ideas in what I talk about, so that you'll get a better understanding of what motivates me, what my priorities are, and also what I do here. I think most of you can imagine what a basketball coach does, and that's pretty cool. The thing I'll tell you, I've got a great gig. It is really good. It's fun. It's fun to be here. It's fun to get to do every day what I get to do. And I know that I'm fortunate for that. I know there's many others who would like to have the type of opportunity I've got, and I'm fortunate to have it. So I'm going to start there with my team and my school as what matters to me, and some of why that is. All of you guys are familiar with UCI, and I hope you feel the pride in this place that I do. I've grown to have that pride in the 4 years I've been here. And I was attracted, my family and I were attracted here because of the overall commitment we felt in this community to excellence. And what I've seen is places where that's not been as great as I had hoped, and in other places where it's exceeded my expectations. When you coach for a living or work at any position in the university for a living, I would imagine your identity, your job and your identity, they kind of become intertwined. For most of you, it's probably like me. The job I've got is not a 9-to-5 thing. It's really defining of who I am. And I like that because I like this place and I like the people that I get to represent with what I do. And that's been a huge part of my choice to be here, and it's a lot of what's really rewarding to me. And that's something that I didn't fully know as I began my career, but I appreciate that much more now. I do think I'm able to keep my job in perspective, which is important, but I also believe in my job's importance. And I'll try to give you a sense for how I think about that. And that's critical. It's critical, I think, to believe in your job's importance. And I do. I'm fortunate to feel that way. With our team, what we've got is an opportunity to represent all of you. And through our platform, hopefully, to inspire you, to make you want to be better at what you get a chance to do all the time. I got a couple of my staff guys out here that laugh. They've seen me get emotional before. I don't have any problems, I don't think. Stuff sort of pours out of me a little bit when I don't expect it. And I'm probably in for a tough go here for a little while. But I'll be all right, I promise. What we want to do as far as inspiring you is do that with our teamwork, with our tenacity, with the courage that we show in competing in our area, in basketball. And that'll matter if we win, because people will pay attention and be excited about that. And I really enjoy that challenge. And I think I understand it. We have an opportunity to inspire through what we do. That's cool. That's something that I didn't fully appreciate it when I started out. I understand it better now, and I get a chance to impart that to the other members of our staff and to our team. What I know we can do with basketball here is help build all of our pride in Irvine, in UC Irvine. We can build pride, we can build, hopefully, school spirit, and we can draw attention to other things that are being done at really high levels here. That's how we can have an impact. And we can further the overall mission of our university through what we do and through doing these things. And those things excite me, they matter to me, and that's why it's important for me to be associated with a place like UC Irvine that I feel really comfortable with, I feel a good fit to. But it is a great responsibility to represent this community. It's one that I take personally. I want to do it well myself, and I want to teach the guys, the players that I've got, to do these things on their own and why they're important. Because I do think there's a lot to be learned through that experience, and can be carried on later on into their lives as they become hopefully better men, fathers, and other things. Now, that's why my school is important to me, my team. I want to talk about my team. My team matters to me, and here's some of why. When I talk about my team, I think most people immediately assume I'm talking about the players, and they are our priority. The players that we recruit, the guys we work with every day, the undergraduates. I think that's the mission that most of us who are employees here, we're here to serve them. These guys are easy to spot on campus. How many of you seen them walking around? A lot of them are real easy to spot. They're bigger than I am. And they stand out in many ways here. And I'm happy with that on most days, because I'm proud of the way they stand out, and I'm proud of the way they represent us. they're all young guys. I'll tell you, they're all young guys who are hungry for success, just like I was. And that's one of the reasons why I like what I do. Academically, they're hungry for success, some at different levels than others. Athletically, they're all really hungry. And we've been able to, I think, bring good people in here who have the right balance of those things and to build on that balance, because all these guys who are hungry for success are on a journey that young people all experience. And my job, our staff's job, is to help them figure out how to fit their priorities together and to be better in many ways at what they do. I'll tell you that when we recruit, the things I emphasize here, and these matter to me, and they're important. I emphasize the value of our degree. The value of the degree that you earn here is great. And I think you undergraduates, all the workers here, we know that, we understand that, and that's something that's important. I also talk about the feeling of community that we get on this campus. It's a big school that feels small, and I feel good about that. I also talk about the academic ambiance, the fact that you're going to be inspired if you're here, whether you know it or not. And that's what happened for me. I didn't know that I was going to get interested in English literature. In fact, I had a good sense that I wouldn't. My SAT verbal score was so low, I had some schools tell me I wouldn't be good enough. And what that did was kind of got in my craw a little bit, so I figured I better learn a little English literature, read some Shakespeare, and when I did, lo and behold, there was a teacher here at Hampton-Sydney who inspired me to learn more. I think all the guys that I've got will find something in their journey here that will inspire them the same way, and I'm excited for that. We've recruited here players who want the academic ambience. They want the academic challenge. They want the sense of community, and I feel good about the way they fit. What I challenge them all the time to do is engage more fully, and that's what I feel like we all should do within this community, because we can benefit so much from one another. I hope that my guys get better at that. I always want a little bit more, I think, than what they give me. But overall, I'm pleased with the progress we're making. We've recruited mostly guys from California, so the makeup of our team is similar to the makeup of our student body. I think we have 11 from California. We have one young man from Phoenix, Oregon. That's an unusual place. I don't know if anybody's been there. It's a good place. It's a lot like my hometown of Roanoke, Virginia, I guess. And then we've got 4 international players. We've got 1 Turk, 1 Greek, 1 Englishman, and 1 player from Senegal. So we have great diversity in our team, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that the makeup, as I said, is similar to the overall student population here. And I think that we benefit from that within our team. I think the community benefits from the fact that our players, reflect the university's population. And what I hope, and you can probably give me better feedback on this, is that you guys enjoy our players and you enjoy our team, and that you feel that we're a strong and positive reflection of this university. I think that's all part of our mission. Now, when I say my team matters, they clearly do, and I talked a little bit about the players there, but it's more than just the players that make up my team. And that's a vital recognition, because we're all part of teams, all of us. Whether the team that you're on is just this university as a team, or there are subsets of your teams, you're part of a team. And the guys who matter most to me, beyond my players, are my staff, my assistant coaches, a couple of them who are here. Go ahead, guys, raise your hands. They didn't dress as well as I did. I got to be on them for that. What I've done is I've had the opportunity to hire guys that work on my staff, and that's a really important responsibility. What I know that I've done, we've had great continuity together, and I feel really good about that. I've hired guys who are good role models, guys who are leaders, guys who I believe in and who challenge me. I want people who are smart around me and who don't just listen to what I say, but challenge me to be better. And I've thankfully got that. It's not easy for them all the time, because I don't respond as positively to all of their suggestions as maybe they'd like me to, but I do value them, and I know that our team does too. I know our team reflects the togetherness that we have on our staff. And I've wanted to recruit people who I believe can go on to be head coaches like I've become. I want guys who are motivated, who are proactive, who get things done, who don't need constant direction. All those things were important to me. Those are the things that made me thrive, and that's what I've tried to do in choosing the guys that I've got with me. And I think I've done a good job of that. And while they share many of my same characteristics, they're real different than I am. So I'm happy for that. And I wanted to make the time to mention them because it's not just my staff that makes up the rest of our team, but it's all the other folks who work in support of our players and in support of what we do, whether that's, I'd say whether that's the athletic trainers, the campus police, the academic coordinators, the cheerleaders, the band. I consider all those people part of our team somehow. The fans, the donors, many of you, anybody who's come to our games somehow is connected to our team. And that matters to me. I'll tell you, it's hard for me because sometimes my emotions are stirred about what a burden that is as a leader. And hopefully you'll all have an opportunity to lead a group that you're really proud of and really responsible to, but there's difficulties that come with that I can't help but sometimes harken back to, and it catches me off guard, like right now when I have to consider the things that I've had to do that are hardest. Forgive me, I'll pull it together quickly. And I'll get to how I make those difficult decisions. I think that's the point of this series, figuring out what motivates guys to make the tough choices that we'll all make. And when I say guys, that's because I'm a product of an all-men's school. I don't really mean it that way. I just caught myself. As I've said, I'm looking to my notes now. This is a big team that I feel like I'm representing and that I'm leading, and I take that responsibility seriously. I thrive on that challenge. That's what I've wanted to do as I've advanced in my profession, and I feel really fortunate to have been given that opportunity. And I know that I got to work hard to do as well at this responsibility as I can. Now, I can't talk about our team, and this is where I want to go, without getting to our core values. And many of you may have seen Chancellor Drake's speech on What Matters to Me and Why about the 7 core values that he has promoted as our university's core values. That was really helpful to me when I got the job here because I figured out in my first year that we needed to get a hold of some core traits that we wanted to emulate as a team. We needed some direction, and we didn't have that when I took over. I don't think I did a good job of promoting that my first year, but I learned from it, and we've gotten better with this now. I couldn't remember all 7. That's me, I guess. I thought 7 was a lot. We focused on 3 of them, and I gave my players an easy way to remember the 3 that we were going to focus most on because we have an acronym, CIA. And I know I say that like with a country accent, the way I say I. CIA used to be the name of the student cheering group here. They were the completely insane Anteaters. None of my guys here remember that, and that's not why we chose it. We chose it just because it was, I think, an easy way for our guys to remember the things we were going to make most important. The C stands for commitment. And people talk about commitments. There's all kinds of commitments that all of us make. And unfortunately, there are many that now are easily broken. The pursuit of excellence is the commitment that I'm talking about when I bring this up to my team. And our mission is to constantly push for a more full commitment to that ideal from our players. How can we be more committed to excellence? Now, we obviously want to be committed to excellence in basketball, but I ask for that in other areas. We get it more often in some areas than others, but we're always striving to be better. There are all kinds of teaching points that we try to reflect as a staff back onto commitment. When we're watching film of our game and we got a guy dog trotting back on defense, not giving a great effort, I don't yell at him and say, "You've got to run harder." I try to make him understand that his effort is a reflection of his commitment. And if you are fully committed, you'll make a great effort. And our success at getting young guys to buy into that more mature way of looking at things is ongoing, but I'm proud of it. And I think we're making some good progress because I think as a way of developing fundamentals, developing habits that can lead to success, aiming towards your core values is the answer. There'll always be a way to find an easy way out, I think. But when we aim towards a better commitment, we can usually get our guys to understand a more mature way of looking at doing what they say they want to do. Everybody says they want to win. Everybody says they want to make the effort to win. But what we're not consistent enough at all the time is showing that commitment in the things that we do. So that's what my staff and I are trying to promote with the C in the CIA. I tell our players all the time, it's easy to be committed when things are easy. I think most of you know that. And the challenge for commitment is when you struggle. And I want my guys to struggle. That's my job. Some coaches want to build bigger practice facilities and have better things so everything's easier. Well, some of that might be nice here, but it's more important to me that my guys struggle, that we have to fight, that we have to grind, that we have to face adversity and overcome things that make us uncomfortable. I know this is the only path to greater resilience, and if we want to win, we better become more resilient and stronger in our commitments. As I mentioned, commitment's needed most, and it shows most when things are the hardest. And you think for a second about the position we're in, because we've got great things to recruit to here at Irvine. I mean, just imagine, we're asking people to come and enjoy this great, beautiful weather, this awesome, clean, friendly campus, the dorm rooms that are rated the best in the country or the world or whatever, and they're so nice, it's unbelievable. And we're trying to attract guys who are attracted to this nice way of life. Then we're going to try to flip it around and make them struggle. That's the challenge we face, because to be good, you got to get better at hard things. And I think that's just an interesting challenge that we faced. But it's the path toward improvement. We're doing that. We're making these guys struggle because we believe that that's important. And I happen to believe that that's been the most important thing that I've experienced. Compared to a lot of guys, I've grown up on easy street. But the things I value most are the times when I've struggled most. And that's what I'm trying to get my guys to understand through what we do. Second of our core values is integrity. In our acronym C, I is for integrity. And this is the one that's personally most important to me. A lot of people may say that. I expect and I value honesty with the people that I'm closest with. And the guys that are in our team, the closest quarters of our team, guys that I really expect that from. I think it's a simple expectation. I think it's a vital expectation. I think it's a rarer expectation now than it was when I was younger. And most old people probably feel that type of thing. I realize it. But where I grew up in Virginia, in Roanoke, Virginia, and then at Hampton-Sydney, where I went to college, there was an expectation of honor and integrity that has had a tremendous positive impact on me, I believe. And that's been on my life and on my career. Each week, I make my players now fill out an honor statement. We may have the only honor statement at UC Irvine. I don't know. Does anybody else know one? That's the thing. It's rare now. And when I was in college, we had to fill out, every time we turned something in, we had to fill out an honor statement. And basically, you could be expelled from our school if you were lying, or if you were cheating, or if you were stealing, or anything like that. And I don't think everybody who did those things got expelled, but some did. And that threat was important, and it drove home the importance of this core value. And I think we missed the mark in many areas in our culture here in California in promoting integrity. And I try not to do that with our team. I try to make that an important part of our team's weekly culture. So on the honor statements, guys got to fill out whether they've been to class, what grades they've gotten, have they gotten parking tickets or thrown parties or other things. And I mentioned a couple of those things as they've come up recently. And our reporting on the honor statements has not been 100%. But I do think it's important to ask the guys to think that way. And so even when we fail, we can benefit. And when we fail, I get their attention one way or the other. And hopefully we can get better. As I mentioned, you could get expelled from Hampton-Sydney College. And I'll talk just for a second about Hampton-Sydney. It is an all-men's school. I know this is a diversity and inclusion and equity group. I don't think that Hampton-Sydney would be the flag carrier for that group. But it's been around since 1776, and I'd stack the education up I got there against any in the country. I really would. It's different than here. But the values that were important there, and the education I got, and the people who were committed to the education of students like me were really outstanding there, just like they are here. And I appreciate that. Now, next thing I want to talk about as it relates to integrity is the idea that we promote courage and bravery. That's not something that gets talked about in that many areas anymore, maybe in the military and maybe law enforcement. And you can definitely go wrong in the pursuit of those things at times. But it's important for me to show guys that it takes bravery to have integrity. It takes courage to aspire to that ideal and then make decisions that reflect it. Nowadays, everybody says they feel these things, but very few people, I think, actually back up with difficult decisions the integrity that often people ask for. My guys aren't great at it. I talked to them about having the courage to communicate courageously. That's a challenge that we face all the time, but it's important to me, it's important to us, and I think it's something that's part of our foundation. Integrity clearly means honesty, but if you think about that word, it means some other things too. Integrity can mean soundness or consistency. You know, like a house has structural integrity. And I think that foundation is really important for our group or for any group that wants to remain consistently strong. And it's got to be based on trust. And if you've got that structural integrity and that trust, you know it, and it makes you whatever the opposite of fragile is. Makes you tough, able to survive. And I'm going to talk more about those things in just a moment when I get to saying more things about my family, which will be the hardest part of this talk for me. The third of our core values, the A in our CIA acronym, is for appreciation. It's interesting for me to listen to Chancellor Drake talk about this. He looks at that far differently than I do. And neither one of us is wrong, I don't think. I think he just points out that things I say may mean different things to you than they do to me, and that's okay. That's why we're part of this community, so we can share ideas and hopefully all benefit. Within our team, appreciation refers to our concept of where we fit within this university. As athletes here, I find myself teaching towards this need for appreciation all the time. Maybe it's as important as integrity. It's close. I expect our players to be active in their appreciation of the opportunity they have to get their education here, to play basketball here, to represent all of you and me and this university. I expect an attitude of gratitude, and I didn't mean for that to rhyme. I don't say it like that all the time, but that's what I'm trying to promote. I want guys who are able to show their appreciation with their behavior, to show gratitude, because that's the opposite of being spoiled. And I think as you mature, you undergraduates mature, you're going to need to face that head on. The real world will not allow you to remain spoiled, and you'll be penalized if you are. And I get to hand out some of those penalties to the players in our program and hopefully teach them that in the long run they'll be better to break those habits. I think, there's a lot of, I say the opposite of being spoiled is a tough concept to sell to a lot of folks, a lot of the citizens of Orange County, maybe more than any other place I've lived. But it's important. It matters to me. It matters to me that our players, with their behavior, reflect appreciation for all the other folks and gratitude for others and consideration of others and the things that they do, the choices that they make. Okay, so you say why? It's not just a simple want for that, in my opinion. If we do a good job of showing our appreciation and gratitude, what I think happens is our commitments strengthen. I think that's an obvious connection if you think about it. And so what I believe is that our core values, the C, the I, the A, they all sort of fit together. They drive us in the right direction. They can get us back towards thinking about the things that can make us better at basketball or at any other thing. And we apply them to basketball, but it's more important that we recognize how these things fit throughout our lives. Now, I look around, I don't see any tissues up here. I'm about to be in trouble here because I'm going to try to talk about my family. How can you have a what matters to me and why speech without talking about your family? I don't think you can. If you ever get a chance to give one, make sure you mention your mom and your daddy. That's what I'm going to do now. They're not here. They're in Virginia. And, but I can tell you, I don't know how many of you saw the Kevin Durant speech for the MVP, one of the greatest sports speeches ever. If you haven't seen it, take the 26 minutes and watch it. It's worth it. He didn't have a dad that he thanked much in that picture. I'm lucky I've got both a mom and dad who are the reasons that I've been able to get the places I've gone in this world. And I've learned so much from each one of them. Don't know how to thank them, don't know how to make proper use of time and context to talk about them. But I'm going to try a little bit. They're both great people. They've influenced me in ways I don't even really understand. I think I'm getting better at understanding it. They were divorced when I was young, but they remained committed as parents. And I don't think there was anything else they could have done. They could have been a better example for me. Daggone. I knew this was going to be hard. I didn't think it would be that hard. Going through divorce is tough. I'm happy it happened for me and for my family. Not many people say that. I think I could say that with perspective now. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but for my family, it was a great thing. And I talk about my folks, my mom and dad, as being wonderfully imperfect, and being forced to recognize that as a young kid was really meaningful for me. And both of my folks, my mom and dad, have inspired me differently. I'll tell you, my mom's a lifelong educator. A lot of people in here can probably relate to that. As a kid, she was a nursing professor at a community college. And her nursing experience and her experience in the healthcare world was enough education for her to know that my brother and I were never sick, ever. That fever was going to break. We both have certificates at home because we never missed a day of school, all the way through the 6th grade. And we never really thought we were sick. Maybe we weren't. Got to imagine that we might have been every now and then. But what I'll tell you is we Turners, there's 2 of us, my brother and I, we go to work every day. And that's something that was instilled in me when I was very young. And that's a lesson that I shared with my team today. We had a guy who was sick. He didn't show up in the morning. I said, nah, you show up, and then we'll release you. That matters to me. And that's something I'm grateful, especially to my mom for. My dad is my strategic thinking example. He's a strategic thinker, and he's my athletic influence. He played everything. He sent me that direction. He allowed me to apply my competitive instincts, my motivations into sports. And he helped me figure out how to think about things strategically, and that's obviously really important to what I get to do every day. He calls himself a stark realist. I got him a book the other day written by Bobby Knight, The Power of Negative Thinking. He thinks that way. I don't think that I do. I think that he's a good balance for my more hopeful nature, but I've got so many things to thank him for. He's a volunteer assistant coach from back in Virginia. He calls me all the time with suggestions. I hear him. I try not to think too much about him, but I hear him. And he's probably affected us more positively than I'll really admit. But I'm grateful to both those people, and can't really express that enough. I don't want to bore you anymore with that. I'll tell you, I've got one brother who's 16 months younger than I am. His name's Dell. He's responsible for my intense competitive drive. If you're an older brother and you got a younger brother or a younger sibling, you understand that instinct to try and dominate. He's sharpened my competitive edge, I'll say that, and that's been really important to my survival in my business. And he did that because I think he was more talented than I was in many areas, but I somehow managed a way to feel like I stayed on top of him a lot of the time. Got a lot of respect for him. He and I are close friends, even though we live a long ways apart. He's got a beautiful family like I'm lucky to have. My family here in Irvine makes me incredibly proud. I know that the clock's ticking, so I'll try not to go into too much of why that is. My wife Liz and I just recently, last month, celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. Yeah, that is worse than applause. That's rare. That's a strong reflection of commitment for both of us. I'm sure of that. But 20 years is a long time. If you've seen her and just heard that 20 years, you'd think we got married when she was 14. We did not. She and I are the same age. We did go to high school together. That's a little bit of a Southern thing, I guess. We're fortunate, though, to have each other and to have so many shared experiences now on what's been such an eventful and intense journey for us. My wife is a critical care specialist now. That means she's a doctor who saves people's lives for a living. I joke that you don't want to see her, but if you have to, you'd be lucky if you did see her. She's got a lot tougher job than I have, and I think she's a lot better professionally than I am. On top of all that, she's an incredible mother, and I'm really, really thankful for all that we have and have built together over a fair amount of time. I've got 2 kids. My daughter, Devlin, is 9. My son Darius is 7. We live right here on campus. Nothing matters to me more than they do. And that's an easy thing to say. Anybody who's a parent probably understands that. Without much more explanation, the emotional roller coaster of being a parent can't really be described for all the thrills and the falls. And I'll tell you this week what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my daughter to play some golf. And I'm trying to get my son to eat chili dogs. And neither one of those things is very easy. It's reflective of the challenges you face and you get to embrace. If you ask them what matters most to me, I think they'd be able to tell you that my consistent message to them is that they must be brave and tough. Brave and tough. I don't know why that's so hard to say. It's easy for me to say to them. It's an easy set of expectations to explain. I think it's a hard set of expectations to always emulate. My emotional toughness right now is not as strong as maybe as it could be. I'll explain to you more what I think about that in just a moment. I believe that the process toward learning to be brave it's a process. You have to learn to be brave. It doesn't come easy for anyone. It's vitally important, though, and I can say that because I remember being a young coward. And you have to remember that. You have to know that that's in your nature, just like it is to hopefully be brave. I relish the opportunity that I have to promote courage to my kids and to my players. And I think that one of the reasons I love my job is because through athletics, you have that opportunity. That's why a lot of the reason why people watch. They want to see expressions of courage with performance. And I think it's important to learn to set aside your fears, hopefully to conquer them, and to express the best you can, your best efforts. It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to do that in any arena. And that's what I hope my kids will benefit from thinking about, and my players too. I think your biggest decisions that you're ever going to have, no matter who you are, they're going to require courage. And they're going to require a level of bravery, whichever thing you often decide. And the most courage will be required when you make a choice that ends up being the opposite of what you should have done. And that's going to happen to every one of you, all of us. But your level of bravery is somehow going to impact the course of your life, as it has mine, as it has anyone's. And I think it's important that you embrace that reality. Constant message, the second part of my constant message to my kids is about toughness. You can't have bravery without toughness, and I think they work back and forth. Toughness is going to be required from every one of you along your journey. It's going to be important, and I encourage you to chase your dreams while knowing you're going to fail, and then try to evaluate the level of toughness you show when things don't go your way. What I ask my players to think about is toughness in 3 areas. Physical toughness, which is required in athletics. You got to be physically tough in growing old, at least that. But you're going to be faced with physical toughness through all sorts of challenges you face. You got to be mentally tough to withstand challenges. Many times the mental challenges you face will be more brutal to overcome than the physical ones. And then you got to be emotionally tough, which is a constant struggle of mine. You can see how I tear up all the time. I mean, I am an emotional person by nature in a business that requires calm. That's hard for me, but I'm working at it and trying to be better, and I think that my players and my kids benefit from seeing my vulnerabilities and seeing the battle that I go through all the time, trying to be better. Toughness matters to me, and as I've grown, I've become more resilient because I've embraced the toughness challenges that I'm going to face. And what that hopefully means for me is it opens the door to greater possibilities. That's what I like for myself to be the case. That's what I'd like for my players to be the case. I said I promote these ideas to my kids and my players with the hope that they create confidence. I want my kids to be confident. I want my players to be confident. Bravery and toughness is part of that message. I want them to ultimately be confident. You can't make somebody confident. You got to earn your confidence. I say that to my players all the time. Don't tell me you're not confident on the floor. Get in the gym and earn your confidence through the bravery and toughness that it takes to work and to struggle and try to find answers on your own. The reason I want guys with confidence is because to be good at what we do, you have to go for it. You got to go for it. And in basketball, that's easy in some ways. It's easy to understand what I mean. You got to go for it. You got to be willing to put yourself out there. You got to have the courage to fight against guys who may be better than you in moments that may be really hard. And that's the challenge that we face. And I'm trying to bring it all back to what I do here so you'll understand why these things are important to me. I've got a quote that I keep on my desk at home. It says, "Dreams come true. Without that possibility, nature would not incite us to have them." John Updike wrote that. When I was working at Stanford, I wrote it down. It was a particularly low point I remember for me when I wrote that down. I don't think it's always true. In fact, I know it's not. But the fact that it can happen is really important. But you got to be brave, you got to be tough, and you got to go for it to reach any dreams that are meaningful. And we all want meaningful things to happen for us. And that's the last thing I'm going to talk about, is our demands to win. How can we do something meaningful in my area, in basketball? Well, for us to have the greatest impact here, we've got to win. And I know that, and I embrace that. I think that's the funnest nature of my business. When I recruit guys, what I say to them all the time is, how do you want to leave a mark? How do you want to leave a mark here with what you do? And I want guys who have some kind of answer. They usually don't know. That question is for more mature people. What I try to get them to understand is that people want their efforts to matter. All people want their efforts to matter. So I think it's important that you look at what you do in that context. For our players, what I tell them is, we're going to get to the NCAA tournament. We're going to have the success that gets us to the NCAA tournament. That's never been done here. That's an opportunity for us to leave a mark with our performance, to give significance to what we do every day. I think that's important because from experience, I can tell you that winning changes you. It changes people. You become more confident. You become more courageous. And winning in basketball is the same as accomplishing any goal that's important for you in another area. But winning is important to us because it leads to the things that can matter most for us in our job. I believe that winning makes a difference for organizations and for universities. That's why I'm motivated to do well what I do. Winning can reset the calibration for an organization, a person, or a university for what's possible. If we win and if we go to the NCAAs, then they'll be talking about the Anteaters on CBS. And we'll reach Roanoke, Virginia, where they haven't much heard of us. And that's important because the benefits that we'll all receive from that will be that others will know all the many great different things that are going on here. They'll know about our student body, the quality of the education, the commitment of so many others, all of you who are here and the things that you do. That's what we have an opportunity to impact. And that's why we're doing it, me and my staff. We're going to go for it. That's what I'll tell you. And I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts today. I look forward to hearing your questions.
I have a question. Will you talk a little bit about the difference between coaching for a professional team like the Warriors and coaching for college?
Yeah, that's a common question I get. I'm eager to answer that. The dynamics in college and the pros are almost opposite. I tell people that coaching in the NBA and coaching in college is almost like the difference between coaching football and baseball. And it's hard to make sense of that. The superstars in the NBA are who? Players. And the superstars in college now are the coaches. And that's a tough deal. I think the players in college are better guys, and the coaches and the pros in general are better guys. And so the dynamics are real different. Keeping that balanced is interesting. In the pros, the most important thing is that you're competent, that you're able to give guys what they need to be successful. I think in college, the most important thing, even before competence, is your caring, is your investment emotionally with the community and the players you've got. One thing I'll tell you that's a common misperception with the NBA because of the media is that the guys there do it for the money. And what I know, and I've got great respect for the people in the NBA, what I know is that the guys who are best in the NBA don't at all do it for the money. They do it for the pride and the respect that comes with doing something at a really high level. And I really value the time that I spent there. It's much more impactful to be a college coach.
I have a question, actually.
All right.
So, you had a very stellar playing career when you were undergrad, and I'm wondering why you decided to go to teach basketball instead of to play basketball afterwards. Was there any influence from your mom, who is an educator?
I mean, yeah, but the simple answer is I wasn't good enough to keep playing. If I had been, I would have. I mean, I joke about that. That's obvious. I would have kept playing if I could have, I think. Didn't really have the opportunities that made sense for me to continue to do that. I've been fortunate to have been influenced by great coaches. And I thought I had something to offer as a coach, and that was my primary motivation in going into this field. My first job, though, was as a high school teacher. I taught English and economics. I used to tell everybody I taught English in Rome, because I did. It was Rome, Georgia. So that's not as exotic as it originally sounds. But you know, my family is teachers, and I'm glad I chose that path. What I realized is it would be a lot more fun to teach through basketball, where students were more engaged than they were many times in the boarding school I had when we were reading English literature.
Coach Russell, thank you so much for your comments. I have a question. This goes to your training in English literature. Who's your favorite author or authors?
Oh, man. In English literature? Well, Shakespeare was what turned me on to it. And I didn't really have any inclination. There wasn't much Shakespeare that filtered down to me in Roanoke, Virginia. That's what university educations are for. I was exposed to that, and it was inspiring to me. I can recognize that others get the same type of inspiration through lots of different mediums, and I respect that. Part of the reason why Shakespeare was important to me was because of the teacher, I think I mentioned this earlier, who was so passionate in his presentation of it and connected somehow with me, who you know, at that time I was a student who probably wasn't that inclined to be interested in it. But somehow that connection helped me, and you know, I'd say that because everybody understands what that is. I'm not going to stand up here and quote much. I do that at times, but I'm not going to try to show off like that now. That's a long time in my past. You know, I don't spend time now reading English literature. I'm grateful for the education I have and the way that that's broadened my horizons to read different things now.
Well, since there are no further questions or comments, let's give our UCIA coach, Russell Turner, a round of applause.